Hey again, travel bosses. I'm excited to bring you this week's sponsor, TripStreak, the smarter travel search. What I love about TripStreak is the ability to set your personal preferences to either have or avoid red-eye flights or have things like completely lie flat seats. So the next time you need to book a flight, check out tripstreak.com/travellikeaboss.
Welcome to the Travel Like a Boss podcast, the radio show all about traveling like a boss by being your own boss. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have built their own online businesses. If you would like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit travellikeabosspodcast.com for instant access. And here's your host, Johnny SD.
Hey guys, this is Johnny and welcome to episode 154 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'm here with Bauke. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, so if you guys don't recognize that Dutch voice, Bauke was from episode 104, exactly a year and a month ago. It's lots of change, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of things I definitely wouldn't have expected, and a lot of things that I might have expected back then that didn't happen. So I guess, yeah,
okay,
very,
I like
very
it.
different than I would have thought my life would be a year and a month ago.
And I think that applies for most people, at least the ones that we know kind of living this accelerated lifestyle. I think if you were back home in Holland, your life would probably be very similar a year later.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, same even back in California. You probably still go to the same bars, still go to the same restaurant. You know, maybe like usually not much changes in a year. You probably have the same job, same friends, same everything. But in a year with this lifestyle, this location-dependent lifestyle or digital nomad lifestyle, chances are you've been to a few different countries. Chances are you've met hundreds, if not thousands of new people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's weird.
Yeah, but that's most of what makes it so exciting for me to live this kind of life.
So where were we a year ago or 13 months ago?
So I had just spent like the first 6 months-ish in Chiang Mai, I think. Maybe even less, like 5 months. So I think at the time I was settled a little bit in Chiang Mai, but I hadn't really been traveling that much yet. Chiang Mai was my first destination, and apart from a short trip to Laos, I hadn't traveled much elsewhere.
Yeah, so I guess before that, you're just based in Holland.
Yes.
And you never really lived abroad or worked abroad?
No.
Okay.
So when I came to Chiang Mai in August 2015, that was my first flight outside of Europe. And it was the first, like, real long-term traveling on my own. So, yeah.
Okay, very cool. And if you guys are interested in pausing this and listening to episode 104, I'm sure it's going to be a big difference between the old Bauke and the new improved Bauke. I don't know about improved, but just 1 year older Bauke.
Well, I like to think I'm improved because I value personal development, and I like to see all of life as like a lesson and take lessons from everything. So I'm pretty sure like if you were to like take note, I would be improved.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Version Bauke 2.0. So what has been new?
First of all, since then I've been traveling a lot more, even more than I thought I would, because so I spent some time in Vietnam, I spent some time in the south of Thailand a couple of times, I spent some time in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and now we're on Bali, Indonesia. So I definitely visited a lot more places since then. And the biggest news is that I now have a girlfriend since a couple months. It's over 4 months now.
Shout out to Camille.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah. Was that planned? Like, were you like, oh, it'd be nice to have a nomadic soulmate?
Not at all. I mean, it would be nice. Obviously, I had that thought, but I was not actively looking for it, or even like in a state where I was like really hoping for it or trying to pursue it in any way. Because our meeting was the most random and chance meeting you could possibly think of.
Yeah. You want to share it?
Yeah, sure. I'll just share like a brief version of it. So, Camille was in Laos traveling with some buddies of hers and got in a motorbike accident and broke her arm. And so she had to rush to the capital of Laos, Vientiane, to go to a doctor and get her arm checked out. I was living in Chiang Mai at the time. I needed to do a visa run, and I didn't have much time or money to spare at the time to like do a long trip like I normally would. So I decided to just do a 1-day visa run to Vientiane in Laos. And Vientiane is not exactly the most exciting place to visit. So I decided to just go to a cafe and do some work or read, and that's where Camille was, because that was the cafe that was part of the hotel she was staying in. And so that's where we met each other. We started talking, and yeah, that's how we met.
Perfect. So you walked in, saw this cute French girl with a broken arm, and you're like, hey, bonjour.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. And 6 months later, you guys are inseparable, except that she's right now in France.
Yes.
Why is that?
This is such a annoying... So,
she got two annoying things in a row.
She got two really annoying things in a row just now. She had a passport that was valid for 5.5 months when we were planning to fly to Bali from Thailand.
So 5.5 more months.
More months. Okay. Into the future, so it expires sometime around August. But apparently Indonesia requires you to have a passport with more than 6 months of validity before you're allowed to enter, even though we're staying only for 1 month.
Which is ridiculous, because it's like having a gift certificate that expires December 31st, 2017, and you show up in like July and they're like, no, it's too close to the expiration date.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't use it.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. So we tried to look into getting her a new passport in Thailand.
So you guys were already at the airport.
We were at the airport. We were waiting to board our flight. It was literally 30 minutes before departure time.
So you checked in already.
We checked in. We went through immigration. So the airport staff had to escort us back out, get us through immigration again, get our exit stamp cancelled so we were allowed to go back into Thailand, where we only had 5 days left on our entry into Thailand in the first place. Yeah, so it was all a bit messy. And
you're lucky that you even had 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true, because oftentimes I would do a visa run like 1 or 2 days before the expiry date of my entry into Thailand. It was just that we wanted to spend a whole month in Bali, which is why we started going there at the start of March. But yeah.
So I guess lesson learned for that is always so renew your passport a year before it actually expires, because it's not just Indonesia. A lot of countries have this random rule for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And second is just to double check the rules of your passport before you book a flight, before you travel. Because I think part of this lifestyle, we get so used to just moving countries.
Yeah, and it's really funny because, so she said, so she's been traveling as a digital nomad for about 4 years, so much longer than me. And she said that she's kind of gotten a little bit complacent with it. And normally she wouldn't really make a mistake like this. Like 4 years ago, she would double check everything, like be really well prepared, and now she's just like so used to the lifestyle, like you said, that she didn't even think of this rule, or rather like she did think of it, but she thought of it based on previous travel plans, which was going to Japan, which doesn't have this rule. And then she didn't check again when we went to Indonesia. She completely forgot about having to check again. Yeah.
Well, about a year ago when Larissa and I were supposed to go to Taiwan, we traveled from, I think we were in Koh Lanta at the time, went to Bangkok. I think we checked in as well. I think we went through the whole process, and like as we were going to the gate, they check it. They check everything again, and they're like, wait a minute, does she have a visa to Taiwan? And I said, no, we're only going for like a couple of weeks, and we get 30 days for free. And they're like, no, sir, you get 30 days for free because you're American, but South Africans need to apply for a visa.
Right.
And we were like, oh my God. And we were with my parents too. It was crazy. It was like my whole family was there. My mom, dad, sister, her husband, my niece, my nephew, and they all passed through the gate, and we are just behind the queue saying, Dad, I'll figure it out. Don't worry. Just go to Taiwan first.
Yeah.
And they were freaking out. And it's completely our fault for just not even looking.
Yeah.
So that is, I guess, a travel tip. So out of all those places that you've been in the last year, which ones were your favorites?
So Chiang Mai so far is still my favorite place to live in, as in longer than like 1 month or longer than that. Just staying in one place, renting an apartment there. It's by far the easiest, most convenient place to do that, in my opinion. But to travel, the most exciting thing I did was a motorbike trip through Vietnam for 2 months in March and April last year.
You spent 2 months on a motorbike?
I pretty much spent 2 months on a motorbike. It was like
insane.
6 to 7 weeks approximately.
That's
yeah.
so insane. So where did you start? Where did you end up?
So, most people, when they do the motorbike trip in Vietnam, they would do like Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi or the other way around in 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I started out with, because I was planning on living in Vietnam for a bit, but then I had never been to the country, wanted to travel, so I decided to do the motorbike trip before settling somewhere. So I started in Ho Chi Minh City, drove up to Hanoi in about 3 weeks, I think. Met a lot of cool people along the way. One of them said that he had 2 more weeks in Vietnam and decided to do the far north, which is near the Chinese border. So that's past Hanoi to the north.
Wow. And wait, so what kind of bikes were you guys on?
Super shitty old motorbikes. So this is nowhere near the quality of the scooters I normally drive in Thailand or even here on Bali. This was like a 2005 Honda Wave semi-automatic Chinese knockoff version.
Okay,
so
so
it wasn't even an original Honda.
Most people are on the Honda Winds, the ones that kind of look cool.
They're basically the same, with a different frame.
Okay.
Like the parts are all the same.
And I've heard that all the Honda bikes are not actually made by Honda in Vietnam.
Yeah,
which
true.
is insane.
It's true. I mean, nowadays they have more, like, the locals drive more like official Hondas. But those that are like 10 to 20 years old, they're all knockoff versions.
That's so funny. Like, you would never see a knockoff Honda Accord back home.
No. Yeah.
And if you did, it'd be a Hyundai Elantra, which is actually a great car. Which I think I would actually prefer that car, to be honest. But you wouldn't have something that looks like a Honda motorcycle that has
interchangeable parts with the original.
Yeah. Which is just like generic knockoff. Because I remember someone saying that like the Honda Winds are so unreliable. And I was like, nah, that can't be it. Like, all Hondas are bulletproof. And then when they said, no, in Vietnam, they have their own factories that just put the stamp on.
Yeah.
All right. So how much was the bike?
$220.
Could you have bought a better bike for like $320?
It's actually hard.
Okay.
So I think the only other option is to go for like $700 and buy like a proper, genuine Honda or Yamaha, something like that, motorbike. But it's pretty hard because the market there does not really cater towards foreigners for that. So you would have to have a Vietnamese person help you out with the purchase and the sale at the end of it, which is a big hassle.
Yeah, because I would imagine that the $220 bike, you could sell it very quickly for $220 again.
Yes, exactly. So I think I sold it for like $10 less than I bought it for.
You drove it for 7 weeks.
I drove it for 7 weeks. I drove it for over 5,000 kilometers through Vietnam.
So it's like 1 penny, 2 pennies per kilometer.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I sold it in the same city I bought it in, like Ho Chi Minh. I posted it on Facebook and I sold it within a few days.
I actually, so when I was in Vietnam a year ago, for Anton's wedding, and I stayed just like a couple of days in Saigon just to hang out. And I remember hanging out at this hostel and seeing like 3 Honda motorbikes for sale just in front of it. People had just got done with this loop. They had drove down from Hanoi, and I thought, fuck, I should have stayed longer. Yeah. And I really thought about just extending my trip and just staying longer. And I regret not doing so now because this sounds like it would have been fun.
It is. It's super fun. Like, you meet so many cool people along the way. It's like, it feels more like a challenging way of traveling too, because like in most of the places you end up in, there's no like Western conveniences. It's completely local Vietnamese cities. You have to figure out where to stay. Like, the hotels don't even have like a listing on Agoda or Booking.com. You have to like go to them and book the room there. You have to figure out how to get food, like, and almost every other day, how to get your motorbike fixed because something would be wrong with it.
Wow. What is broken on the bike?
So things that were permanently broken or like semi-permanently in the sense that I would get it fixed and it would break again the next day. It was like the electric starter. So I had to kickstart it all the time. The big light, so I could only use the normal light. And other than that, I had issues with like the engine wouldn't start like at all, even with the kickstart one time. I had issues with the gears, like being stuck in a gear or something like that. Yeah, so stuff like that happened all the time, yeah.
Did you ever get stranded in the middle of nowhere?
Sort of, yeah. So on Katba Island, we had the most hilarious day. We were 5 guys traveling each on our own motorbike. They all had Honda Winds, I had a Honda Wave. And in a single day, every single one of the 5 motorbikes had an issue and broke down at some point. And so the last one, we were on Katba Island. We made it just in time for the ferry to get there. We were like, all right, so we can make it to the hostel before dark now. And then one of the guys got a puncture. So that was out of the question. We had to get his tire replaced. Then by the time we were like halfway through the island, another one of the guys' bike broke down. We didn't really know what was wrong with it. We couldn't really get it fixed there, so we left it there. He just jumped on the back of one of ours. And the next day, me and him went on my bike to go and pick up his bike, and then mine broke down. So the 2 of us were there with 2 broken bikes stuck in the middle of an island, in the middle of nowhere. And then we tried to get it fixed, but the guy was totally trying to rip us off because he knew we were stuck there. So we just called the other guys that were still in Katba town, and they came by with their bikes and some ropes, and we literally like dragged the bikes by rope back to town, which was like probably one of the most dangerous things I've ever done in my life.
Because were you sitting on the bike while they're dragging it?
Yes, because you have to
balance it.
Yeah, because you have to balance it and use the brake because there were like mountains up and down, up and down. Yeah.
So while you're telling the story, I'm imagining it in my head. And I'm imagining it either to be this amazing adventure that I want to do, because it sounds fun, right? It sounds adventurous.
Yeah.
Or it sounds like the biggest pain in the ass. And I'm like, never want to put myself in that situation ever.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cases where you would never want to like purposely put yourself in the situation, but once you're in it and you've dealt with it or you're learning to deal with it, it's actually kind of fun and an interesting experience, and it's a cool story to tell afterwards. So yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to get stuck in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, now that it happened, I think I learned more from it, and it's more of a fun, interesting story than anything else.
And I think a big part of it is also just our outlook or the way that we handle the situation. You know, you can either be lighthearted and just laugh about it and just say like, we'll figure it out. It's not a big deal. Or we can stress about it and have it ruin our day or our life. Yeah. I remember last weekend I was in Ubud, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, let's have brunch." And she sent me the name of this restaurant. It's called like Sari Organic or something. Uh-huh. And I didn't have a car, so I called a Gojek motorcycle taxi, which is exactly what it sounds like. Some Indonesian guy shows up on a scooter, and he's your taxi driver. And I give him the name of the place, and turns out, so this is like a farm-to-table organic restaurant.
Right.
Turns out he thought I wanted to go to the farm. So we're driving through, on this back of this guy's scooter, through like the craziest roads. And it gets so narrow that no cars can go on, but we're on a scooter. So we're just like, oh yeah, we'll cut through. And to be fair, there's 2 ways to go on Google Maps. One seemed like you had to go around the whole city, which would have taken an extra like 20 minutes. Or we can just, do the shortcut. And I was like, oh, it's probably fine on a scooter. And then the road gets so narrow that you're cutting through this, like a stream. So like on the side of you is like water. And it's only big enough just for the bike. Right. So like you can't even have 2 people walk in a straight row. And I was freaking out, thinking like, oh my god, if we just tip over, I'm just gonna be in this fucking like a small river.
Yeah.
And we get to the end, and it's a fucking dead end. And I was like, I'm not going back on this. I start walking, and the guy keeps yelling at me. He's like, no, get on the bike. It's faster. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting back on this bike. And I have a photo. I made a video. It's on my YouTube channel, of just, and unfortunately I didn't video that the part where we're in the water, because I think I was just so scared that I just like didn't want to take out my phone. But I have like a video of me just like in the paddy field where I was lost. After he dropped me off and I figured out I was in the wrong place, he left already, and I was stuck there. So and then nobody else would pick me up.
Right.
Because nobody was crazy enough.
Yeah.
So then I was stuck in the middle of this fucking rice field in Ubud. And I was like, okay, now like, what do? I guess I just have to hike back out.
Yeah.
And somebody had commented that like in the video, I think I Instagram lived it too. Or it's put it on my Instagram story. And people were saying like, oh, it's good that you're so lighthearted, you're having fun and smiling about it. And I had realized, it's like, you know what? I don't think I would have, even a few months ago, or especially not my past life when it had like more stress, or like more worries. But now I think like life is so easy and like life is so good. Like why stress?
Why would you stress about it? Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that, I definitely got that attitude in Vietnam as well, like, or at least strengthened it even more there. Because, you just handle these situations and, like, deal with it, and it's no big deal in the end, so, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And I think part of the stress that people have is, it's always time or money, right? Yeah. So one is, oh man, I wasted a day of my vacation, and I only have 13 days to travel.
Yeah.
Versus with us, we're like, oh, we have as much time as we want. So it doesn't matter if we waste a day. It doesn't matter if the bike trip turns out to be 7 weeks versus 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why I did that trip as well for so long. Because I initially had the plan to do Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi. And I just kept extending it because I was like, this is fun, this is nice, this is cool. This is probably an experience I'll remember for the rest of my life. So I'm just going to get like the absolute most out of it. And that's what I did. So, yeah.
I like it. I guess, that's also a really good tip for everyone is try to have your travels be open-ended. Really try to not have a set return date, or if you can, don't even have a return flight, because you never know what experiences you're going to have. And even though it might cost you more to get a one-way ticket or not book everything like a month in advance.
Yeah, until you run into this passport expiry issue. So that's one of the lessons I took away from that, actually, is like, try to not plan as much ahead anymore, because the cost of all our like changed flights now is far more than if we had just booked like single one-way flights and then like from Thailand to Bali and then not anything from Bali to anywhere else, and then buy the next ticket while we're on Bali and we actually know that we're going to be able to make it. Because now now in the end we kind of solved it and recovered most of our flights because she went back to France and like on a return trip. But again, like she had to pay for a ticket, like a return ticket to France, which isn't cheap, obviously. And like a few of the other options we had to solve the situation involved canceling our flight from Bali to Kuala Lumpur, and even the one from Kuala Lumpur to Amsterdam we have afterwards. So so for me, I feel like we should not have booked that much, even though like to us it was still only a few weeks in advance. But even then, I think that it would have been better to not book that much ahead.
Yeah. And I think the other part of it is the opportunity cost of saying like, oh, I really like it here.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to continue, maybe let's just skip Kuala Lumpur. Let's skip whatever. Or in Vietnam, just saying, oh, let's extend our trip. And it's always more expensive to be like, oh, well, I can always go back to Bali, or I can always go back to Vietnam. Because first off, you might not. You never know. Life might get busy. You might end up in Amsterdam and getting another job again and staying there.
Unlikely, but
or you would have to fly all the way back, and that costs money.
Yeah.
So the last time we spoke, I think you had pretty much just gotten to affiliate marketing.
No, that's not true. No, I've been doing different variations of affiliate marketing for I think like at least a year before then, maybe even more. I think that what I'm doing right now, though, I just started it back then, which is using Facebook ads to build an email list and then sell affiliate products to the email list. That's basically my business model right now, and I think I had just started doing that for like 2 or 3 months when we last talked. Yeah.
Okay. And was it profitable the last time? I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay. And how's it now?
So during the course of 2016, I did so much traveling that I kind of didn't do as much work as I maybe could or should have. So towards the end of 2016, because after Vietnam, I did a big trip with my brother who came to Thailand. And so during the end of 2016, I like started working again a lot more. And that's when I realized like there was so much more potential in what I was doing at the time. And I kind of left it to die. And now it's a lot more work to build it back up. So, but now the last 2 months, so I'm talking 2017, January, February, have really paid off again all the work I've been putting in building it back up. So it's doing really well again now.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. And I'm assuming that throughout this whole time, you were making enough money to be able to support traveling and enjoy life?
I think so the start of 2016, I made a lot of money, which allowed me to live partly off of savings of that while I was traveling. Like Vietnam, on a motorbike trip in Vietnam, don't expect to get any work done even if you plan on doing it, because that's just impossible. So those 2 months I definitely had to live off of a combination of savings and a little bit of automated income. But then, the rest of 2016, I was able to make enough money through the email list I had built before to just sustain the rest of the year. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So can you give us an example of like what that actually entails? Because I think a lot of people are thinking like, okay, it kind of makes sense, but I have no idea what you mean.
So yeah, affiliate marketing. I don't think I'm going to go into explaining that because there's a lot of ways to find out what that is. But I go to affiliate platforms. I find offers there that I want to promote, that I feel like I could promote, that I know enough about Facebook to know what they allow or not allow there. So I kind of build a free offer based off of what that affiliate offer is. So either I create like a free report or like a video course or series or something like that. And then I give that away in exchange for an email address from the person that wants to have it. So
to kind of give people an example, have you ever seen those Facebook ads that say, "Are you into yoga?"
Mm-hmm.
Enter your email address to download the latest report on yoga for health, or 96 yoga techniques to better your balance or something.
Yeah, exactly that. So then people would enter their email address to receive that report. Then the first email they get from me is that report.
Okay.
And usually an offer for something that is a paid product. Okay. So they get a free product immediately as soon as they enter their email address. And then on the next page and in the first email, there's an offer for, hey, if you like this, go and check this out. This is a paid product. So they go to the sales video. That's an affiliate offer. So that's not my own offer. That is an affiliate offer.
And these products, are they physical products or are they digital products?
I'm mostly digital, although some of them involve they can buy the printed book version or the printed CD or DVD version sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So an example in this situation might be somebody sees the 96 yoga postures, they download it and they say, wait, we also, if you like yoga, here's the video series that you can check out. Here's a video. Somebody's, who isn't you, somebody has created this product already.
Yeah.
You are just an affiliate for it, which means you are referring them to this other site.
Yeah.
They watch the video. It's explaining, the yoga techniques or whatever it is, and says, here's an offer to buy, access to these 20 yoga videos that, walk you through step by step or something.
Yeah.
And if they buy that, then you get a commission.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. And because it's mostly digital products, the commissions are pretty high, 50 to 75% usually.
Okay, cool. And what do you think the hardest part of this whole process is?
So there's a few things, I think. So the first is on Facebook itself, the targeting and figuring out your audience and then making it profitable in the beginning. I think that takes a lot of trial and error. Then for me, that's not really a hard part at all, but for some people, it might be the whole setup of the funnel, because if you're not technically inclined, it could be a bit challenging to set all that up.
And by funnel, you mean one page website where there's an opt-in for an email and then having that automatically send the PDF and then send them to the other link.
Yeah. And then the whole email autoresponder software, which is just software that actually sends out the email to people. setting all that up. And then the next part is the actual copywriting of it. So you want the first page they see to actually entice them to enter their email address and not like click off and go back to Facebook. You want the next page to get them to click to watch the sales video of the product. You want the first email to not only give them the PDF, but also get them to want to watch the video again if they haven't already for the first time. And then after that, email after email, every single day I send an email to the list, and this email is, most of the time I like give something away and then also entice them to check out some paid product that is related. So so every single day you have to create content that sells. So copywriting, I think that's the hardest part, definitely.
But are you actually writing these emails every day, or are you writing them once and putting it into a autoresponder
Both.
series?
So I have an autoresponder series that people get when they first sign up for the first, I think I have it set on 10 days now. So the first 10 days, they get automated emails that are the same for everyone. And then also I send a new broadcast, which goes to the entire list except for the ones that haven't gone through the follow-up series yet. And that I send every single day. Yeah.
What email software do you use?
Aweber.
And do you like them?
Yes, but it's mostly out of habit because I've been using them for 2.5 years.
I use Aweber as well, and I know they're good. I know they're one of the originals.
Deliverability is really good, which is why I continue using them.
So one thing about deliverability, and what that means is, does it actually show up in the inbox, or does it show up in like promotions box or spam folder or something? And obviously you want it to show up in people's inbox. One thing that I noticed that helps a lot getting my emails into the inbox is if I just write it like a plain text email and just have like one link somewhere versus have like images displayed in line and making it look fancy.
Yeah, definitely. I always send plain text emails. Yeah, that is one thing I've been doing like forever, pretty much, because it's like an email from a friend instead of like a promotion from a company.
Yeah, okay, that definitely makes sense. Yeah. So I like and dislike Aweber. I think it's like I like that it works.
Yeah,
but I dislike that it looks like it hasn't changed in like 10 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're very far behind the times when it comes to their competitors. Like, I don't know, I've heard about ConvertKit lately. That's like super, like, I have all this fancy automation stuff, and it sounds super exciting to try it, but I haven't really yet because it's quite a pain in the ass to move away from an email autoresponder when you have 20,000 leads in it. So
wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I've been spending a lot on my Aweber, and I realized when people unsubscribe to an email, they're still charging you. Aweber's still charging you.
Yes,
for that
you gotta
email.
remove the Yeah, that's another one of those ridiculous ancient things that should not be the case. Yeah. So I go through every week and remove all the unsubscribes manually. 'Cause it's the only way. Yeah.
And I've also realized that there's no way that I saw to export your entire list into CSV. You can only export a page at a time, which can display up to like 100 email addresses.
I think there is a way to do that.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure there is a way to do that.
Because that would be so annoying if you want to switch to someone else.
Yeah.
But, okay. I mean, it's good to know that we're both using the same platform, that it works.
Yeah.
Would you recommend people get into this type of marketing?
It depends. It kind of depends on where you're at right now and what you do and what you want to do. So if you're looking for a business that is like, could be like semi-automated, you don't have to put that much work into it every single day, then it's kind of a good business model, I think, because there's like a lot of ways to do it, to set it up. Like, for example, the sending a new email every single day is not necessarily needed. There is ways to do this in a way that, like, it takes very little work every day to manage the business. On the other hand, there's risk involved because it relies almost exclusively on paid traffic. So I would not recommend anyone who's broke or on the verge of broke to get into it. So only if you have money to invest, I would say get into it.
And when you say money, like, what are you talking about? A couple thousand or 10 grand or what?
This is so hard to say because it depends on what product you're going to sell, who you're going to sell it to. So what product, I mean, so what niche, for example, and how big is that niche? how competitive is that niche on Facebook advertising? So how many other people are competing for the same traffic? And then there is the location. So if you sell to the United States, your traffic's gonna be more expensive, but it's also gonna convert better. So yeah, there's too many variables to really say. However, I think that if you just start out with a small test of like a digital product to the United States audience, I think you could start off with a budget of like $20 a day for a couple weeks, and you're gonna have to be able to take that as a loss if it doesn't work out.
Okay, so have a couple $100 at least, maybe $500 or more to play with, just to test, not knowing if it's going to convert or not. You'll probably need, $30 a month for something like Aweber to start out with.
Yeah.
WordPress hosting.
Yeah.
Maybe a landing page builder. So all in all, I don't see anyone getting started for less than $1,000.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And time-wise, how many months kind of did it take for you to become profitable after learning this?
So it's a bit tricky for me to give a proper answer to that if you are like completely new starting out, because I wasn't. I did affiliate marketing, I did email marketing, I did Facebook advertising in different ways, but all of that already taught me the lessons I had to learn to be able to do this. So from the start, I was close to profitability and very easily got into profitability with the campaign that I started running back in the start of 2016 when we talked. But if someone's starting out from scratch, I would say it takes 1 to 2 months at least to learn the whole process, all the skills you need, like the technical setup, data analysis, all of that stuff. Like it takes a lot of time.
And it sounds like 1 or 2 months is actually a very short amount of time to learn all that. I would actually estimate a little bit longer if you don't have any technical skills, because it might take someone a month just to learn how to make a fucking WordPress site.
Right.
It'd take another month to learn the basics of Facebook ads, maybe another month to learn kind of the basics of the cost per action affiliate model. So I would recommend do not get into this unless you have either prior experience with some of these things, or if you have 3 or more months and more than $1,000 that you can kind of just spend to test things and learn.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. We've had on a bunch of other kind of CPA affiliate marketers on the show. Episode 81 was with Derek, who used to went from a firefighter to affiliate marketer. We had on, I think, episode 80 was called Stack That Money Success with Nick and Robbie. And then we had episode 140, which is the Affiliate World Recap, I was talking about kind of some of the people I met at the conference, which you were at as well.
Yes. I wasn't actually partaking in the conference this year. I went there last year, so in 2015. This year I just visited Bangkok to meet up with some people who were at the conference, because I already knew some people and I just met up with them. And it was the first getaway with my girlfriend as well, so we just had like a nice stay in Bangkok in a nice place together, and it was like a little getaway with her too, so that was nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it's cool to see you there. So this is not the type of affiliate marketing I do, but it's kind of ironic that the names are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing, and I think that's why a lot of people get confused.
And I would even argue that it's different from what Nick and Robbie and Derek do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways. Affiliate marketing is, I think that term is basically exactly the same as saying sales.
Yeah.
Which literally could mean you're selling mattresses at a store versus you're selling property for real estate, or if you're on the phone selling, or you're, I don't know, selling candy, wholesale.
Yeah.
It could mean anything. So don't get hung up on that term too much. I would kind of describe the way what Bauke does is more like CPA marketing, like cost per action. What do you think? What do you think a term would that be?
So I kind of disagree there, because that's what I just said. It's different from what Nick, Robbie, and Derek do.
Nick and Robbie do
so
more
what they
CPA,
do is CPA marketing, definitely. So they go to a traffic source, they buy traffic, send it either directly to the affiliate offer, or they just have a very easy, quick landing page that only entices people to click through to the affiliate offer.
That makes sense.
Whereas what I do, I would say I do mostly email marketing.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're building a list to the ads, but everything that you're selling is through that email list.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. If you want another example of someone who makes quite a bit of money doing affiliate marketing through email or email marketing, listen to episode 94. This was with Jen and Nick, who I think they were making like 25 grand a month or something through their health email list. And I don't think they built it through Facebook ads, but I guess it doesn't really matter how you build the list. You just need to have an email list.
True. Yes.
I need to be better at building my email list. I suck at it. I realized that you can't even sign up for my email list on a phone. So if you go to johnnyfd.com on your phone, there is no way to sign up for the email list.
You need to change the platform that johnnyfd.com runs on.
I need to get off a blogger. freeblogspot.com.
Because, I mean, it works fine on a computer, but on a phone, even just reading your blog on a phone, it sucks.
Does it? Okay.
Because, so every time you scroll either left or right, it goes to the next or previous blog post.
Oh my God.
So very often while you're reading, you're like accidentally flicking left or right, and then it loads a page, you have to go back, then you have to scroll back to where you were inside the post. It's just, yeah.
Man, I know I need to do this. I just, you know what? I'm not going to do it, but my plan for 2017 is to hire someone to take care of the technical aspects.
Yeah.
So all the email opt-ins, all the hosting stuff, the things that I don't want to do. I just want to be able to create content and do things I want to do.
Yeah.
Because that's what I enjoy. Yeah. So it is cool that we are both making enough money through affiliate commissions or other online kind of semi-passive businesses to be able to keep traveling like this.
Yeah.
And I really think that I don't know. Do you think this is for everyone? This life?
No, definitely not.
Why?
No, I think some people they so there's like I think there's different kinds of people that wouldn't agree with this lifestyle. First of all, there's like the people that want to be like super successful, that want to like build like billion-dollar companies, and they're like, what are you guys doing? You're just bumming around doing nothing. Like, you should be working way more and like just like grinding like 100 hours a week to like be really successful. And then on the other hand, there's people that want to just like have a job, have like the security of a job, like own a house somewhere, raise a family, and they don't want to like have to deal with affiliate commissions and like the risk involved in that, and they don't want to travel around all the time. It's inconvenient for them. So yeah, there's different kinds of people, and I'm pretty sure that apart from those two, there's a whole lot of other categories of people that it also wouldn't be for.
And by risk, you mean kind of just like the non-stability.
Uncertainty. Yeah.
1 month you might make $10,000 or more, and another month might be
nothing.
Yeah. Okay. But I guess that's the gamble people like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we're in Bali, what do you think of? How long have you been here now?
I've been in Bali since March 10th.
Okay, so about 3 weeks. I was here since February 28th, so I've been here for exactly a month.
Yeah.
And luckily, I had the foresight to first book a one-way ticket, and then second, instead of getting the free 30-day visa on arrival, I opted to pay for the visa at the airport, so then I would have the option to be able to extend it for another 30 days. And good thing is because we are very happy here, and both Chris and I are going to stay for at least another month. So
nice.
We just went through the extension process, which is a pain in the butt.
Oh, yeah?
Have you done it yet?
No, because I'm not going to.
Oh,
I'm leaving before the end of the month. Yeah.
So first off, you would think that when you pay for the longer visa at the airport, they would just give you the stamp and say, okay, you can be here for 60 days.
Yeah.
But no. They give you a 30-day stamp at the airport with a option to be able to extend it again for 30 days, which you can do between 2 and 4 weeks of being here. So basically, you arrive, you go on you stay on vacation for 2 weeks, and then you have to go back to the freaking immigration office, spend the whole day to get a stamp to be able to use up the whole 60 days. And it actually takes 3 trips to the immigration office. One to drop it off, another one to come back and do a fingerprint, and then the third to pick it up.
Crazy. But
luckily, they have visa agents, so it'll do it for you. So I think we paid like $50 to have someone pick it up or drop it off, but we still have to go once to go to get the fingerprints. So it's still a waste of 4 hours of our day, but...
Is it at the airport?
It's not the airport, but it's past it. It's almost near Kuta.
Oh, it's South Kuta.
Yeah, and it's an immigration
Of course,
office. The other good thing about using an agent is they will go and stand in line for you.
Yeah.
And so by the time you get there, you know, you're
first up.
You're first up. So, which is good. So I would definitely recommend using an agent if you want to extend. Yeah. But what are your thoughts on Bali so far?
So as a place to live, I haven't been here long enough, or at least in the same place long enough to really properly compare it to Chiang Mai. 'Cause my brother was here. When I came here, he was here, and we've been traveling around together. I hadn't seen him in half a year. So yeah, we've been mostly just like exploring the island together. We went from Canggu to Ubud to Ahmed to Gili Trawangan and back, then climbed Mount Batur, and then we went back to Canggu. So now I've been in Canggu for like 4 days.
Okay. So you've seen a lot of Bali, but mostly as a tourist, just driving around, doing cool stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Now my brother left yesterday, so I'm gonna be in Canggu again, like at least a week, cause my girlfriend is coming on Monday. So by then I'll have been here at least a week. So I think Canggu is the only place I can really compare for a place to live. What I really like about it is, I think the food is really amazing. The food that is not local food, like the sort of half Western or fusion food here, is of higher quality and lower price than it is in Thailand. Like in Thailand, if you go to like a Rustic and Blue in Chiang Mai, for example, you pay at least 400 baht for a proper breakfast there. Whereas here you can get it for half that. Like similar quality, breakfast is half that price here.
So to put that in dollars for everyone, in Chiang Mai, the Thai food is amazing and it's cheap.
Yes.
In Indonesia, the Indonesian food is okay. It tastes good. It's not amazing like Thai food, and I like it a lot just because it's different. So I'm like, it's, you know, I haven't gotten sick of it yet.
So I have another thing that is that in Holland, Indonesia used to be a Dutch colony. We have a lot of Indonesian immigrants. We have tons of Indonesian food. It's like Indian food for Brits. It's Indonesian food for Dutch people. So I am used to Indonesian food. I ate a lot of it in my youth, and the quality of it in Holland is much better than it is here. So for me, it's like, it's cheap, but other than that, it's not amazing. So yeah,
that definitely makes sense. There's definitely not as many like spices or as in like with Thai food. But what Bauke was saying about the Western food, for whatever reason, Canggu at least is populated by mostly Australians and Swedes, and they really like to have high quality, like nice food. You know, like lots of organic food, lots of health foods.
Yeah,
and if you want to, get like a nice breakfast, like a smoothie bowl or like quinoa pancakes or, something like that, you can get it here for like $5.
Yeah.
Versus in Chiang Mai, it's not that popular with Thai people to eat. So it's really just catered to the Westerners, and there's not like a huge influx of Australians or anything like, living there. So in general, you're spending $8, $10, maybe a little bit more on like, really high quality farm to table, organic type of food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the one thing that I like most, I think, about Canggu compared to Chiang Mai. Other than that, so I'm not here long enough to know anything about long-term accommodation, but from what I've kind of seen or heard, it's much easier in Chiang Mai.
It is much easier.
Get an apartment for a month that is fairly cheap and like comfortable and easy to live in.
So here, basically what you would do is you drive around and look for basically a hotel, like a guest house or a hotel, and you just try to negotiate a monthly rate. In general, I just wrote a blog post about both Canggu and Ubud with the cost of living and everything. So just go on johnnyfd.com and look for those travel guides. But basically, Ubud is very similar to Chiang Mai. It's a little bit more expensive. It's probably 25% more expensive. So the cheapest studio you can find in Chiang Mai would be, let's say 5,000 baht a month, which is
like $150.
$150.
Yeah.
Here, probably $250. Maybe a little tiny bit less, 220 or something, but it's going to be let's say 220 and up for just a very basic, local place. If you want to stay in like a nice condo with a pool, maybe even like 1 bedroom, so you have a kitchen and things like that. In Chiang Mai, they start around 15,000 to 20,000, so like $500 or so a month, $600 maybe. Here, you can find that doesn't really exist here. You either stay in a nice hotel in like the place we're in now, which you can get for maybe around $1,000 a month, or you can get a villa, which is usually 2 bedrooms more, and you have to share with somebody, and then you can each pay maybe $700 and have a really nice place and have your own house, but then you have to have a roommate.
Yeah, right. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, so that I would say that Chiang Mai wins on convenience and like availability, like choice, like different choices. Because, renting a villa is possible in Chiang Mai as well. I know people that have done that. So I think there's a lot more options there, and there's like way more. So I think that, I think that just comes with the fact that Chiang Mai is a big city, and this is just like tiny places.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's also far more developed.
Yeah. Chiang Mai, I don't know if it's that much bigger than Ubud. So Canggu is almost more like, even though it's not an island, it's just a beach town. It feels more like an island, like
it's like 2 streets.
Yeah, and it's really small.
Yeah,
but it's I like it because there's a beach you can surf. But for most people that like Chiang Mai, they'll like Ubud better because it's just a little bit bigger. There's more stuff to do, slightly better infrastructure, slightly easier to get around, and rent places and things like that. And it's 25% cheaper than Canggu in my experience.
Okay. Yeah, I have not spent enough time there to have a proper opinion on it, because from like my short-term stay, I like Canggu better, but it's just because Ubud was super busy and but maybe I just should have gone like outside of the center a little bit and I would have seen more of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And Canggu is really laid back because it's a beach. Like we're like a block from the beach. There's like only like 2 streets where all the restaurants are. So you just kind of scoot over, you hang out. There's not that much going on.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't think I could live here for more than, I would say 2 months at a time. I know there's people that live here permanently, so obviously some people like it, but unless you are surfing, there's not really a reason to be here. And Indonesia itself is just such a pain in the butt compared to Thailand.
So that's the other thing, is that everything in Thailand is just much more like convenient. Thailand is a far more developed country in almost every single way. The roads here are a mess. Like, I thought roads in Thailand were a mess, but they're not. Like, I now even like Vietnam was less of a disaster to drive through than Indonesia. It's just, I don't like going out of Canggu's like one street, because every time I have to, you just get stuck in traffic and it's a disaster.
And the reason why there's traffic, it's not even that there's that many cars, it's that there is no city planning at all.
It's tiny roads.
Like, these roads can barely fit 1 car, but there are 2-way streets.
Yeah.
And cars would just get stuck in the middle, and then you're like, well, are you going to back up or are we going to back up? And then there's like a million cars behind it and bikes behind it that just kind of just get stuck. And people will literally get stuck for hours without being able to move.
Yeah.
And it's just from bad city planning, not having wide enough roads.
Yeah.
And things like even getting a SIM card at the airport or getting a taxi at the airport is such a pain in the ass compared to Thailand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. First of all, like, taxis in like not in Chiang Mai but in Bangkok are super convenient and fast, and like as long as you don't get them in like Silom, they're generally willing to use the meter and just charge you a fair rate. Whereas here, like, all the regular taxis will rip you off like there's no tomorrow. Like, they'll charge like 4 to 5 times a normal rate for what they offer, and then like the Ubers and Grabs and everything are sort of like forbidden. I don't know if they're actually forbidden by law, or it's just the taxi mafia that's like trying to push them out. Yeah. So, there's signs everywhere that says there's no Grabs and Ubers allowed. And Grabs and Ubers are not willing to pick you up in a lot of places because they're afraid of the taxi mafia. So yeah, that's just super annoying.
And what sucks about that the most is if Uber was easy to get, even if it was a little bit more expensive, like than it is now, because right now it's super cheap.
It's
right?
cheap. Yeah, really cheap.
But even if it was a little bit more expensive, but it was like guaranteed where somebody would come within 5 minutes or something, just like any normal city.
Yeah.
I would go everywhere with Uber. I would leave Canggu all the time to go to a bar in Kuta, which is like 40 minutes away, or I would go to Seminyak, which is like the really nice kind of luxury beach town. That's really not that far. It's like 20 minutes away. Or I would go up to Ubud, which is an hour away, and just take an Uber just to go hang out for a few days, come back. But because it's such a pain in the ass to try to get an Uber, which most of them, you could try for like an hour and then maybe someone will pick you up and then might get lucky and maybe not.
Yeah.
Or you can know that you're getting ripped off by a taxi guy that's, basically extorting you because you have no other options.
Yeah.
Or you could just say, fuck it, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah, or you brave the traffic on your own motorbike. That's what we've been doing. For me, that's usually the alternative to that. Because, I like driving a motorbike, even though here it's much more of a pain in the ass than it is in Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I love in Chiang Mai. Is like, if you have a motorbike in Chiang Mai, and that's also like, you can easily buy one there and like, it costs barely anything. And like, the whole city is like within 30 minutes of anywhere. Like, you can get anywhere, and like, the places I visited most were like within 15 minutes on a bike. Yeah.
Definitely. So if you guys go to Chiang Mai, and you're going to be there for more than a few months, buy a scooter. Usually they sell for 12 to 15,000 for a second hand, which is about $400, $400.
I paid a lot more for mine, but
you had a nicer one, huh?
Yeah. So I generally, I think it's like, unless you don't have the cash to put in it, I think it's better to buy a newer one for like 25,000 baht ish. Because I sold mine for 2,000 baht less than I bought it for 7 months later. So compared to renting, it's still super cheap, but it's just a more reliable, faster, easier to drive bike.
Yeah, you're right. I think the only reason why I don't spend the $700 or $800 on a bike is because first I never register it. I never I don't want to deal with the kind of the pain in the ass of doing everything like that. So I'm like, you know what? If it's a $400 bike or $300 bike and it for some reason disappears, or someone steals it, or like whatever, but like, fuck it, just leave it, right? And also if you ever want to sell it, you can sell it like the next day, because there's always someone trying to find a cheap bike. But if you buy a nicer one, you'll enjoy it while you have it, but then it's more reliability, more of an upfront cost, and also when you go to sell it, in general, there's less people looking for that higher range of $800 plus.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, there's a little bit more work involved, but financially, it doesn't cost much more.
Yeah. Okay, that definitely makes sense. So, what are your plans after Bali?
So the 2nd of April. So first of all, like I said, Camille is coming on Monday. So we're going to spend the last week that we have on Bali together. And then on the 2nd of April, we're flying to Kuala Lumpur, do a house sit there for 2 weeks. And then we're flying to Holland, meet my parents. My parents have their 40th anniversary on the 21st of April. And then we will stay in Europe, but we don't have any definitive plans yet on what and where to go. But we will stay in Europe for the entire summer. So probably until the end of August, maybe even later than that. We will have my parents' car to use, so we'll be pretty free to go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and summers in Europe are amazing, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that I think I'm gonna be back in Europe this summer. I'm not 100% sure yet. This is the first time where instead of being just completely independent, I've decided it's better to have somebody to travel with, whether it's a romantic partner or even just a best friend. So I've been traveling with Chris, and I'm kind of left it up to him. Where our plan is to go to either Poland or Portugal this summer, but he's also talking about going to Colombia, or even maybe staying here longer. So we'll see where it takes us. But it's nice that we have these options.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's almost funny that even though we are now in Bali, everyone that we hang out with is from Chiang Mai.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. A lot of people here that we met in Chiang Mai.
Like literally the other people staying at my hotel, Max, who's been on the show, and then Artesia, who was part of Remote Year, but I met her in Chiang Mai. And who else is here? There's like just Kristen Yates, who's been on the podcast.
Oh, she's here too.
She's here.
Right.
Like so many people are here.
Yeah, and on
Chris Kwaswachu.
When Camille is coming on Monday, we'll meet her friend Nicole that you met as well from Brazil. She's here too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It feels like this year's birding season, all of Chiang Mai, or at least our kind of circle of friends, has come to Bali. So
yeah.
That's kind of fun. And I wonder where we're all going to be next year. Because it really seems like it's every year. It just, people are like, oh, where's everyone else? And it ends up happening. Do you remember what your decision was to, like, how did you decide to come to Bali?
I'm almost 100% sure it was Camille's decision. Because, so I know my brother, was involved in the decision because he was coming to Australia to do a working holiday visa for 1 year. So he said before coming from Holland to Australia, he wanted to stop in Asia to visit me because it makes sense with like, it's kind of in between. So the plan was for the longest time for him to visit me in Thailand and we'd do like Thai islands together again. But we already did that. And then, I met Camille in November and then around December, we started making travel plans together for this year. And I think that's when we decided to do Bali instead of the Thai islands. And we asked my brother if he was cool with that, and he was. So that's why we ended up meeting, I ended up meeting him in Bali, and the plan was for her as well, but unfortunately that didn't work out.
Well, she'll be here soon.
But she didn't get to meet my brother in the end, because he left yesterday. Yeah. But we'll meet him in Australia probably after Europe.
Okay.
We have plans to maybe do like Asia and then Australia again. Yeah.
These travel plans in this life almost sounds like made up. Like, have you ever kind of just, like, did you ever imagine this? Like, growing up as a kid in Holland?
No, not at all. No, it's pretty crazy, yeah. I know, yeah.
And it almost feels so normal for us now. We're like, oh yeah, listen to me. Oh yeah, why don't we just meet him in Australia? Why don't we just meet him here?
Yeah.
It's, one of the big reasons why I like this podcast so much is I like to be able to share what is normal to us now with other people who want to make this leap and think it's either not possible or that it's, it's overwhelmingly difficult. It really isn't that hard.
Yeah, I know. Another thing I wanted to share is that actually all of this traveling this year is almost entirely due to me meeting Camille, because I was going to do that visa run to Laos and I was so fed up with it. Like, I was not looking forward to that visa run. I hated having to do it. I didn't want, I knew some of my friends in Chiang Mai who had decided to stay for a year on a education visa for self-defense classes. And I was on the verge of getting that visa, buying that visa and staying in Chiang Mai or at least Thailand for the entire year this year. And then Camille was like, I don't want to do that. I want to travel. I want to go to Europe. I want to do this, that. And I was like, maybe I should not become complacent again where I am and just take a leap and go travel. So yeah.
And
thank you, Camille, for that.
Do you think that was a good decision?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I actually feel very similar, where I was so comfortable in Chiang Mai. And Chiang Mai is such an amazing place. I think that's why we keep going back to it. But you're right. We get complacent there.
Yeah.
Where we just life is easy. Everything's convenient. A lot of people. Food's good. Weather's good. And life just kind of passes us by when we're there. It is a good place to start out. It's a good place to put your head down to bootstrap or start a business or, to learn skills. Or
even if you already have a business and you're just I need 2 months of solid work right now, you go to Chiang Mai and do it there.
Yeah, it's don't do it in Canggu.
The easiest place to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do like that. But I think when we are in a situation where we are, our businesses are set up, we have money coming in, we have money in savings, but also some passive income coming in, then there's almost no reason just to sit around and do nothing there. We might as well travel and see the world because we can. Because we have this luxury, we have the option.
Yeah.
I like it. So, Bauke, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate it. If people want to find you, how can they find you?
I'm still on libertytotravel.com, although I don't really update it much anymore. But there's plenty of ways to find me there. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Thank you guys for listening. I wanted to give a big shout out to this week's 5-star review by Dorta R from Latvia. I think it was our first review from Latvia. My buddy in the journey to financial independence, 5 stars. This podcast has been with me from the very beginning of my journey to financial freedom. It is a constant inspiration with a variety of guests that have achieved their own freedom and share the journey. In an environment where most of us are trying to break out of the 9-to-5 life, are alone on our journey, it is crucial to constantly stay motivated. Thank you, Johnny, for providing this great content and companionship and inspiration. Also, big thank you to TripStreak, our sponsor. The next time you guys need to book a flight, check out tripstreak.com/travel-like-a-boss. I'll see all of you guys next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus, How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.